Well, have you ever thought about what it takes to stand up and stand out online in your business, in your community, in your family, in your work? Well, you do have to stand up in order to stand out. And today we have three experts who are chomping at the bit, ready to take you step by step through the process of standing out and standing up. So what I'd like to do is have you say hi to them or have them say hi to you. Hi, Celeste.
Hi, this is so great to be here. My name is Celeste Camps. My company is Empowerment Through Movement. I am a speaker and coach from Forest Hills, New York. You can find me at celestecamps.com.
Great to have you, Celeste, and hi, Vivien.
Hi, everyone. I am Vivien Ram. I am the co-owner, STEM coach, as well as a STEM advocate. I am at vivienram.com in the Atlanta metro area, and I am excited to be here today.
We're excited to have you and welcome, Dominique.
Hello there. This is Dominique Hart, visual brand strategist and founder and CEO of Dynamic Endeavors. You can find me at dominiquehart.com.
Great to have all of you here. And we have an important topic, which I think the three of you really can bring to light for us, and that is how to help our viewers stand out and then, well, stand up so that then they can stand out and what they need to do to stand out. So Celeste, I thought we'd start with you with the stand up part. What do people need to know? How can they banish their self-doubt?
It's actually very easy. You pay attention to how your body is holding yourself. Are your shoulders back? Is your head lifted? Are you smiling? Believe it or not, just putting ourselves in a confident pose makes our mind follow along. We have a hard time with that negative voice in our head that's just constantly wanting to rake ourselves over the coals. And yet I find if I put my body in a confident pose, that little voice says, oh, we're being confident now. All right, let's do this. And it's a very empowering feeling. And it also gives you a sense of presence. When you walk into a room, people notice that. And it's very infectious, especially when you smile.
And I see it in your body, number one. Number two, I took a step back. It made me conscious. And I said, oh, let me sit up just a little bit taller. And it took my self-confidence up, and it also lowered my feeling of worry, of self-doubt or worry. So that was like, wow, what a simple, like I could have had a V8 moment, right? To do
Yeah.
that. And so that's a brilliant idea for just generating self-confidence, because once you do that, then you can stand out. And Vivien, I know you help people, especially the younger generation of women, stand out. So what can young women do once they start thinking about their self-confidence, but then they want to gain a competitive advantage? What do you recommend they do to stand out?
So I think coding is the way of the future. I mean, there is almost nothing out there that doesn't have coding as part of it. So especially for young girls, I think learning a coding skill and learning it early gives you that competitive advantage that takes you far into your adulthood. Also, I think for young entrepreneurs, you spend a lot of time, especially when you're just starting a business, right? Long hours trying to figure things out. So making sure that you have a business that aligns with your passion and purpose so that you're not just working, you're working doing something that you're passionate about.
So when you say coding, you mean like computer programming, right?
Yes, computer programming, for our kids, we call ninjas, we say coding, but yes, computer programming.
So when a young person thinks about like, why should I do this? And you're like, I don't want to go into computer programming or coding. Um, what would you say back to them?
I say it's not like my mom and dad's coding, right? I remember in high school, they had the big machines, and so you would code, and it was horrible. And I remember thinking, I would never do anything with this. Isn't life funny? Well, now coding involves you can be a game developer, right? You can create apps. There's so many fun things that you can do with coding. So now that we really just try to open up kids to the opportunities that are out there that they may not have even considered.
Cool. So it could be a career path, but it doesn't have to be. Number one, it's a skill set to have that can leverage you for life. You can leverage for life, right? Because it also, I know when I took even programming back in the day when it was that big ugly thing.
Yes.
It makes you think in a certain way. It builds your thinking skills so you can solve problems. So I think there's a bigger case there. Would you agree for, learning a skill that gives you a competitive advantage, but it also gives you the skill of how to think through problem solving?
100%. So not just problem solving, critical thinking, logic, math. These are all those extra skills that you pick up with coding, which is wonderful, right? These are the same skills they need when they're preparing for the ACTs and SATs. So, now when kids have a question, what do? They go to Siri, right? They go to Alexa. So they get to use that left side of the brain that, that doesn't just get used all the time.
Brilliant. Oh, I love it. Okay, great. And Dominique, I want to ask you, as someone who works with businesses, you've got some confidence in you based on what Celeste was talking about. Maybe you have some critical thinking skills like Vivien was talking about, but now we have a business. We actually have to make it stand out, and it's a noisy world out there. So what do you advise?
Oh, I love the fact that we're even talking about standing up and standing out, because that's everything that visual branding is about. And without that, you're really missing that dynamic factor to really attract people to your business. And that's something that I really want people to know about this virtual world, or even creating experiences offline, is that when it comes to visual branding, it shouldn't be something that's put off. It should be something that's on the forefront, because that's a very thing that people are going to see, that's going to them to come into your world and learn more about you and buy from you and increase your ROI. It's really important.
Yeah, and so that it's almost like a puzzle to figure out what is the visual that would match my brand, right?
Wow.
So where could people start to think about changing up their visual brand to stand out?
Yeah, I definitely, and I kind of touched on this a little bit, but there's an experience to be had when it comes to your visual brand. So definitely start there, right? Not only who you are, especially if you're a personal brand. And I know everyone has those questions between a personal brand and a corporate brand. What direction should I go? I'm getting some head nods, right? And so that's really, really important. But definitely think about, what is the experience that I want to be created in my market? What's the experience that I want to be known for? And then create from there. And once you do that, and once you get really in tune with that, and really take a moment to decipher what that is, whoever you are working with on your creative team will be they'll be better able to understand you better, because your words are now speaking in a way where you couldn't before, because you didn't take the time to really think and imagine what that experience will look like in your world.
They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. So bring the words to that creative person. Let them amplify your message through visual, because so many people want to put so many words either on a PowerPoint slide or on a web page. But if you have the right image, it'll bring forth. I get what you're saying. It's so powerful, the visuals. Thank you. This is
Um,
like meaty. We are now ready to be confident, have the critical thinking skills, have the logic behind us, and then the wisdom to bring it out there in a visual way. Wow. Ooh, power team you three are. So let's learn a little bit more about each of you, because I want to know where your superpowers come from and who you help with them. So tell me, Celeste, who do you work with? What do you do for them? What are you most excited about with that?
I mostly work with women, though I have yet to do a presentation where there weren't men in the audience. And I'm always pleasantly surprised when they come up and tell me how much they got out of it. So I work with a lot of women who want to have a voice to their message, and yet they find themselves feeling awkward, or their mind is talking them out of it. And they're having that crisis of, maybe I just give all of this up. And it's very easy. I go over to them what it is they're trying to do, what is their passion. And I explain to them that everybody needs to know your message. If you're passionate about it, trust me, even if somebody didn't think about that before, just your enthusiasm will give them something else to learn and grow from. So it's important that we find our voice. And many times it's just a matter of, be prepared. Don't try to go out there and wing it. There's no point in that. Everybody knows when you're just trying to get through something without any real preparation. But once you've put the work in and you know how your story is going to go and everything is organized, the next step is to practice it, not to the wall, but to people. That's how we get our feedback. I always say the analogy of, think about a really bad date you went on and you tell your best friend and it takes you 20 minutes. But by the time you've told your 10th friend about that bad date, you've got a solid 5 minutes and you've taken out everything that didn't move the story along. You know what is funny and what gets to the heart of the matter, and you've got a story for life. And once I explain that and they put that message together, and I'm able to show them, okay, I want you to walk into that room with the confidence and energy to the point when you get in front of everybody, it's almost like you explode. And there's something very powering of believing that there is a bright spotlight on you and that people are there not to judge you, but to hear what you have to say and enjoy you. Because people think we're being so critical of each other, and we're not. We want the information and we want to hear it, especially if you want to tell it.
It's beautiful. How did you get into this work?
Oh, I actually, this was a long journey for me because I had a terrible shyness. I had such low self-esteem and insecurity that it was debilitating. And I really thought I wasn't going to have much of a future, personal or business, but it was dancing that saved me. I always loved to dance. That's the only time I felt comfortable in my skin. And I realized when I started teaching other women to dance, so you have to understand, I did professional belly dancing for many, many years. But what I didn't realize is that that confidence I felt on stage started creeping into my everyday life. But I didn't put it together until I was teaching other women to dance. And then the transformation. They would go from standing like statues, explaining to me why their hips didn't move, when I said, no, this is very natural. And when I got them to relax and breathe and move into the positions, oh my gosh, once they got to that sexy pose, they were like, oh, I'm so sexy. I'm really quite beautiful. And they couldn't believe how quickly their minds changed from feeling awkward to feeling sexy and beautiful. And I realized, oh, I put their bodies in a sexy pose. That is how I'm getting through my life. I am walking through with the confidence that I have on stage. And I started doing a lot of research, and there is a lot of science to it. And there is such a great body-mind connection that I love sharing it, because I find we have these tools and they're there for us whenever we need that self-esteem boost. And that's what I like to show everybody. Because I know
Beautiful.
how much it's helped me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrific. Thank you so much for teaching people how to stand out and get confident in their bodies. And
Yeah.
so, Vivien, tell us about you. And I know the work you do with your coding ninjas. Who do you work with? What do you do? How do people get involved?
So Code Ninjas, we teach kids to code. Our main audience are kids between the ages of 5 to 14. It's a great program because we teach them the code by helping them develop their own video game. And so kids are all familiar with karate, right? So it's a 9-level belt system, and they learn things like JavaScript and Lua and Unity. And so most of the video games that are out there are actually built in Unity. And they're familiar with Lua because they played Angry Birds or Roblox, right? Where the kids are familiar with. So they love that through our program, they get to build skills that they can develop their own game that will go in the App Store. That's how they complete our program. And so the thing that excites me about our program is that they are able to learn a skill that not just takes them into adulthood, but they've created a product that follows them forever. So imagine being 8 or 10 years old, you've developed a game, and you can say to your friends, hey, you can play my game in an app store, right? They start to believe that they're limitless. And so giving kids that opportunity, that truly is the best part.
Do you have a quick story about how some kid, what happened when where they were before and what happened to them when they went through your program?
Yes, so it's funny. We have one of our young ninjas, is what we call our students. They were working on this particular code. And so it took them about 4 sessions. And I tell you, we say often, hey, don't give up, right? You need to push through. And so on the 4th session, I had the sensei who works with our kids really work with him on it. And I want to make sure he got it. And so by the end of the session, I saw him jump up And he was like, I did it. And I was like, I ran into the room because I was like, is everything okay? He's like, Miss Vivien, I figured it out. And it was like this huge light bulb appeared over his head. And when he left that day and he went and he talked to his dad, and his dad said, how did things go? He said, you know what, Dad? This was the best day ever. And for me, I mean, it's like my heart just opened up because this kid, he realizes, you know what? This may have been hard, but I was able to get through that, right? And so, what else in his life that he's not going to give up on just because it got too hard? And make sure that he's able to hit anything that he chooses, that he can get it done. And so that's some of the stuff that we love at Code Ninjas.
That is probably the most valuable piece of the Code Ninja, experience for those kids is that they get themselves. They get their own wisdom. They get that they have the ability to they have superpowers. They really do if they
Yeah.
work on them. So thank you for that's great. So Dominique, tell us about who you work with and what you do with them specifically, and then I'd love to hear a story about how you help someone.
Yeah, so we mostly work with multifaceted entrepreneurs and people who are personal brands or corporate brands. And on the small business side and mid business side, we do a lot of training with corporate teams that we lead with our dynamic creator process and our dynamic method, which is really unique and significant to our company here at Dynamic Endeavors. And so we lead them on a really interesting journey as it relates to their visual brand and designing what that overall look of their company is going to look like. And especially for entrepreneurs who are rebranding, they're in a new phase of their business, they're in a new space of elevation, and they're like, they always come to me and they say, we want more, we want to do something different, we're in a different space. It's this a moment that they're always awakening into, I guess you can say. And I love seeing them through the journey and working with them in that way. Me and my team, we get a kick out of it. It's like, we're gonna do it again, team, let's go.
That's great. It's awesome to see, just like Vivien was saying, to see those people. And Celeste, you're seeing when the women transform. So you're really helping people from the business level to the personal level to the student level, really have their transformation moments so they can stand up and stand out. How did you get into this, Dominique, by the way?
Oh, it's really unique. So I actually have a BA in advertising from Temple University. Go Owls. And I then went on to, start my corporate career. And that's the world that I knew. That's the world that I'm trained for. That's the world that I eat, breathe, and sleep, right? But it was until maybe about 2013, 2014, I caught that entrepreneurial bug. I always knew I was going to do it. I had this grand vision of my life. I'm like, yes, I'm going to be creative director, and I'm going to get all of these awards, and then I'm going to start my business. And life had it where it's just like, yeah, I remember that vision you had for like 20 years from now, you're starting it today. And that is when it really kicked in. And one thing that really transformed us into what we're doing now and how my agency has grown since then, with my new team and our creative team and everything of that nature, is I started to see how our entrepreneurs were lacking that big corporate access that I knew, right? I'm coming from digital agencies, corporate advertising agencies, print, web, apps, all of that kind of stuff. And entrepreneurs, they didn't get access to that, right? Because we're talking about $1 million campaigns when some are trying to piece together their first 10,000 or their first 50,000 or their first six figures. And how can we create a world where they can get that level of expertise, that level of design and high-end design without breaking their bank and accelerating their endeavors moving forward? So when I noticed that we can become that glue for them, everything just really just started to explode and expand. And I love, 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 love seeing that journey for them.
Isn't that great when you're in alignment? And we've all talked about being in alignment in one way or another. And here at Women Speakers Association, we like to align together to support each other to bring out our messages and help more people. So I was wondering if each of you could answer one last question for me today about what is the value that you personally or professionally have gained from being a part of Women Speakers Association? Celeste, would you like to share?
Yeah, this is probably one of the best things that I've ever done is joining this amazing group. I have met so many people and I've gotten such great advice, suggestions, just sometimes a sounding board and just, this idea that I can reach out and get feedback and all so much is accessible to me. And to have a library that is set up, I can go and watch videos, I can read articles, I can, realize that, okay, I'm not alone in this. And it's a wonderful feeling to know that there is so much support built in because networking isn't always easy. And I'm not always finding the people that I really need to connect with. And here it is, I have this whole group and everybody brings something so wonderful to the table. And just listening to Vivien and Dominique, I'm just thinking, oh, this is so wonderful that I've made two great new connections and I'm looking forward to speaking with them later. It's very exciting. Yes.
It is exciting, and we're excited to have you here, and thank you for sharing that. And Vivian, how about you? I know you've been involved in a few things with Women Speakers Association.
So I gotta say, Women Speakers Association for me has truly been a game changer because there's been so many things that I've been able to get out of this. First, just bringing light to the importance of girls in STEM has been huge. And, that happened through the Women Speakers Association, as well as creating a channel for women to connect and collaborate through the Global Business Connector opportunity. And I'm a Global Business Connector for the Atlanta metro area. And then really helping me sort of refine my message to customers, which is big. And then I was able to write my first book through, Women Speakers Association. I mean, how many places can you go to and get all of that done? And last but surely not least is the network. I mean, there are unbelievable women in Women Speakers Association from all over the world. And I have made some great connections, people who can help you in your business, just sometimes someone to talk to. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and sometimes you can feel like you're alone. And so having a network of fabulous, smart women is priceless.
Thank you. In fact, yeah, there's practically at least one Zoom type of networking opportunity or training opportunity you can attend a week through Women Speakers Association. We have the Facebook group. Like Celeste, you said, we have trainings in a library, we have resources and articles, and you get email every week to let you know what's happening, what's available for you. And then of course you can pick and choose who you talk to from the Facebook group, from our member area, and you get listed as a speaker. So yeah, there's all those things. So Dominique, what do you love about Women Speakers Association?
There is a lot, but I'll keep it to a few. So, my first one is definitely the training library. I think that's really awesome because it gives you a chance to see that not only do you have amazing speaker sisters in a way, but also that, especially a space where they're willing to share their own knowledge with you. And you can always go back to it over and over again. I think that's really important for us to be fortified as speakers. And so, I really love that aspect about the training library, but also it's, what am I missing? What areas of expansion am I missing out on? So for example, WSA TV, this is a chance for me to reach out and for people to understand who I am and for me to share my expertise as well. So I always value that. And that leads into my last thing that I'm really, really excited about, being a member of WSA finally. Is being able to be a resource to other speakers, right? So, to other speakers who are members as well, and having that space to build and grow together. That's really valuable for me, especially as a creative. And now, especially as a speaker, couple those two together. I mean, it's like, poof, amazing. Right. And so having that space to grow and also being able to be yet again a resource to other women and other speakers is just always really valuable. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
And we are grateful for you and for all of you. And thank you, Celeste and Vivien and Dominique, for being here today to share generously of your wisdom, to be that resource. And for those of you who'd like to join WSA or find out more about it, go to joinwsa.com. And if you're interested in publishing, you can go to voicesofthe21stcentury.com. We have a collaborative book. We have a waiting list going on for that, for the next book, and or WSA Publishing if you have your own book, and we can help you get published. So there's many more resources beyond that, but that's all we have time for today. Please just start exploring our website. Thank you again, ladies. We will be back next week with another edition of Women Speakers Association's WSA TV Women's Premiere Show with Michaela Quilici, who's going to be talking about her training that's coming up in October. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you for having us.
Bye.